Good morning, Governor. Today is the 26th day of the month of Shevat, as we mentioned, and we begin a new chapter in Tanya, chapter 28, Perikov Ches. So in this series of chapters, the Alter Rebbe gives us advice on techniques of how to be besimcha, how to be joyful, and how to overcome sadness at all times. How appropriate, being that we're about to enter into Shabbos Mevarchim, Adar. It says, even from Shabbos Mevarchim, we already have the obligation to be besimcha. So how? Sometimes you deal with so many problems, studies, life throws you all sorts of challenges. So how do we do that? In today's lesson, when having distracting thoughts during davening, during learning Torah, what we do is we remove our attention, from the disturbing thoughts immediately. That's number one. We focus on something else. And then number two, we're happy that our davening or our learning is constructive, and it's causing such an interesting twist that the Alter Rebbe brings. It's causing the Yetzer Hara to work extra hard, and that's why he's trying to get through. So the reason why the Yetzer Hara is attacking is because we're doing our job. So he has to do his. Okay, page 129 in the Chayenu Perik Chav Ches. But imagine you're trying to daven and you get all sorts of evil, lustful thoughts in the middle of davening or in the middle of learning Torah. Don't, obviously they pop in your head, but don't start paying attention and thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. The minute it happens, push them out of your mind. Obviously, don't be stupid enough to be involved in and even thinking about this thought. As is known that one can overcome these thoughts by elevating their source. And I guess the best method is to, sometimes it's hard to push away a thought. Instead of doing that, or instead of thinking, how do I push the thought out? Actually replace the thought. Refocus on the davening, refocus on learning. Sometimes you have to think about a particular thing or a particular ois, a letter or holy word that will help you recalibrate and refocus. To completely eliminate them and to think it's never going to happen, that's the avoid of the tzaddikim, as we mentioned yesterday. They don't have machshavas zaros during davening. Yes, maybe you could think it's not fair, but this is our purpose in life, is to fight these evil thoughts every single day. So since the tzaddik has transformed the midas of his animal soul to good, so no evil thoughts arise. But for the regular folks, I speak for myself, that we get these thoughts in our minds and in our hearts during the davening, during learning. So what do we do with them? How can we rise up to the spiritual realm? How can we elevate our tefillah? How can we learn properly if we're being tied down with these things? So therefore, it would be foolish for the Beinoni to attempt to completely rid himself of these thoughts. What does he have to do? He has to divert his thoughts. He has to think of something else. If we know we're not going to completely eradicate this, so don't waste time on it. Move on quickly. It's gonna, but maybe I can destroy it and it'll never happen again. Come on, we're normal. It happens to everybody, right? So instead of dwelling on it, divert your mind to something else, something positive. And that's really an important reason why we look at the words during davening. Even the shapes of the letters. There's something so powerful. I often say, you take the aleph, you have a yud above and a yud below, and you have the line in between. So that's the yud above is the Eibishter, of course. The yud below is the yid, the Jew, the neshama, the spark, the soul. And then the line in between connects us to the Eibishter. So you can actually look at the letters. Any aleph, Hashem echad, any aleph. You could visualize if you're davening Shemoneh Esrei, you think suddenly a thought comes in which is completely inappropriate. Like, why? Why now? Why ever? But why now? So you replace. You think about that aleph. You think about the yud above. You have this shape in your mind. You have to think of something tangible that replaces that which is there. That's really the best way to get something out. Thoughts don't stop. They don't stop. So you do this. You have to replace it. Verstehst? Oh, this is the most important thing, that a person should never be upset and miserable when these things happen. Why? A yid has to always serve Hashem with joy. A yid has to always be b'simcha. Right? El adraba, on the contrary, Ischazik Yosef oimetz b'chol koichai b'kavonas hatfila b'chedva v'simcha yisera. He should realize that because, as we mentioned before, because he's davening and because he's learning and because he's doing what he's supposed to do, the Yetzer Hara is looking for new ways to distract him and attack him. A lazy person, the Yetzer Hara doesn't have, he's not doing it anyway. So what do I need to do? Right? So here the Yetzer Hara throws these thoughts in your mind and you go, wow. So what you think is, you're like, oh, I must be doing my job. So the Yetzer Hara is working extra hard to throw me off my game. And therefore, if I'm doing something right, I should be happy about it. Instead of being sad that the Yetzer Hara is throwing these thoughts in your mind. Should realize that these thoughts come from Klippa and from the left part of the heart, and they're waging war against him. It's known that this is the way of people. They seek to destroy and they seek to topple. But when so what happens is, you ever see like if a mouse, chas v'shalom, or a mouse or a rat, they're cornered and you're trying to whack them, they go crazy. Or a little animal, they're right. They're going to do everything they can to survive. So that's what the Yetzer Hara is. When you're learning and you're davening, it's powerless. It's being whacked from all sides, and it feels like its life is in danger. And now he's struggling and he's fighting, and this is his attack in your brain during Shemoneh Esrei. Therefore, in the battle between the nefesh elikis, the godly soul, and the animal soul is a selfish animal soul. When the divine soul exerts itself and it musters all its strength in davening, thereby weakening or even vanquishing, pushing away the nefesh habahamis, at least its temptations. Azai gam aklipa miskaberes kinegda levatlo ulahapila machshava zarashalo. And the klipa of the animal soul, the klipa gathers strength to counter it, aiming to confuse and to topple the divine soul by means of a foreign thought of its own. Obviously, we're going to continue this thought. Remember, a few days ago, actually, I believe it was last Shabbos, we learned that if two people are fighting, and one is much stronger than the other one, but the stronger one and the bigger one is lazy and lacks energy, and lacks positivity, and lacks that drive, then the smaller, weaker one, as long as he comes in with a full, with burst of energy and self-confidence, the smaller, weaker one will win. Because the minute there's weakness, there's laziness, boom. So what happens in this case is, that's what the animal soul during Shemoneh Esrei and during davening and during the time that a person's doing a mitzvah, the animal soul in the Yetzer Hara is at its weakest point, because everything is focused on Hashem and doing the right thing. And the Klippa and the Sitra Achara are struggling to survive. So what they do is they enter into your mind all these thoughts of doubt, of anger, of resentment, of jealousy, of lustful thoughts that a person shouldn't have ever, but especially during davening, during a mitzvah. So we have to recognize what they are and where they're coming from, and it should bring a person joy, because he realizes, I have the upper hand right now. All I have to do is divert my thoughts at this point, and I continue on with my service of Hashem. So Alter Rebbe gives us such a paradigm shift. Instead of being upset, instead of being miserable that this happened to us, no, we should be joyous. And by the way, Simcha paired together, joy will break all boundaries, and joy will certainly help us in our fight against the Yetzer Hara and subduing the Sitra Achra. The toolbox for success in divine service: understand the source of temptation and negative thought. And when you're doing something good, it's our Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is trying to stop you. And really, it's an opportunity to show your strength, that you will not be slowed down. And that's it for today. As I mentioned before, it's the perfect opportunity coming on Erev Shabbos Mevarchim Adar, a month that's permeated with joy. We learned that joy even begins from Shabbos Mevarchim, even before Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, tonight. So everyone have a wonderful day, and make sure to add everything, do everything you can to add. If we're already learning about Shabbos Mevarchim and we're preparing for Shabbos, it's even extending. It even starts before Shabbos Mevarchim. So everyone have a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you Mitzvah Hashem for the Sheva Brachas and for the Simcha, and a good Shabbos.